All the time. Amen. Sadly, for a lot of people, experiencing church is like going in the ER to have a bone set and walking out with cancer. It's unfortunate. I know a lot of good people that should be in church, but because of their experience with church, no longer are interested in church. And it's because of religion. Now, if we want to be honest, we like a lot of what comes under the umbrella of religion. I think that we kind of get a sense of security, a sense of rhythm, a sense of timing. I think we like predictable. I think we like, let's just think for a moment. Like Jim mentioned in a communion thought a couple of weeks ago, you were, I think, in Istanbul, which used to be Constantinople. Istanbul is and 5 times a day, Islamic nations have a call to prayer. You mentioned not everyone does it. You know, they continue on business. But just imagine if you had that, right? 5 times a day, you don't have to think about it. Set your clock to it. The trumpet blows, the song is sung, you roll out your mat, you get down and pray. Or the Jewish Passover feast. At least once a year, you're going to get together with like-minded people. You're going to clean all the yeast out of your cabinets. You're going to get the house ready. Or what about the Christian calendar? We don't follow the Christian calendar, but there are a lot of people, that have Advent all the way through Pentecost, right? And you kind of just set your life to that rhythm, that sense of cultural, of communal commitment, right? You know what to expect, when to expect it. But are we supposed to be religious? Is that what God had in mind for us? We like the predictable, but is God predictable? I think we like religion because it gives us a false sense of control, but can God be controlled? And that's where we come with religion. We like the pomp, the pageantry, the predictability, the big production. But is that what God likes? Does God want us to be religion? Speaking of predictable, I don't know if you've watched the news at all this weekend, but right now the Marines are helping evacuate everyone from the U.S. Embassy over in Afghanistan, right? Taliban has already taken over Kandahar. I would say I haven't watched the news today, but they probably have Kabul by the end of the day, right? Bureaucrats are shredding documents, getting rid of sensitive information, and the Taliban is steamrolling across. And this is not a political commentary on if we should have been there or if we should withdraw. I probably have opinions on it, but that's not my point. When I say the word Taliban, what comes to your mind? Repression. Very repressive, yeah. Yeah. I'm using the example of the Taliban because right now, the way that you and the rest of the world think of the Taliban, that's how the Jewish people thought of the Samaritans. Terrorists, pagans, horrible people, hate them, bounty on their head, bad people. Samaritans are from where? Samaria. Samaria's got to be the home of samurai warriors with a name like that, right? No, Samaria in the original language means mountain of watching. I don't know how they came up with that, but mountain of watching. If you want more background on the Samaritan people, 2 Kings chapter 17, beginning of verse 24, talks about how the exiled people from Babylon are put in there, and the Jewish people and the people of the region who are Gentiles intermarry, and you get the Samaritans. So they're half Jewish, half other nations. Jezebel, right? You've heard of her, I'm sure. The one with all the eye makeup. She's the only one I know of in the Bible where she puts her eye makeup on, right? Samaria is where she stored talents. Why are you looking over there? Are you rebuking the spirit of Jezebel? What's going on? Awkward. Samaria, that's where Jezebel stored her idols. It's got a bad, horrible reputation. And we know John chapter 4, Jesus and the disciples are going through Samaria, a place they would never go. And Jesus talks with who? The woman at the well. We all know the story. It's the heat of the day. She's drawing the water, and what do we know about that? Women draw the water when? In the cool of the morning. Right? We think we kind of have a feel for the historical, the cultural thing that's going on. Right? So, woman from Samaria comes to draw water, verse 7. Jesus says, "Give me a drink." Disciples had gone to the city by food. Samaritan woman says to him, "How is it that you, a Jew, ask me for a drink?" Number one, I'm a woman. Number two, I'm from Samaria, right? John puts in parentheses, Jews have no dealings with Samaritans. Verse 10, Jesus answered her, "If you knew the gift of God, what it is, or who is saying you, 'Give me a drink,' you would have asked him, and he would have given you living water." And the woman says, "Sir, you've got nothing to draw the water with. It's deep. How are you going to get this living water? Are you greater than Jacob?" Right? Our father, the one who dug the well, drank from it himself, his sons and his livestock. Jesus, verse 13, "Everyone who drinks of this water will be thirsty again, but whoever drinks of the water I give him will never be thirsty again. The water I give him will become in him a spring of water welling up to eternal life." And the woman said, "Sir, give me the water so I'll not be thirsty, or have to come here and draw water again." Oh, well. Yeah, we know the whole background here, right? There's something wrong with the woman. She's an outcast, right? She balks at Jesus for talking to him. How could you ask me, a Samaritan, a woman? Ethnically, off limits because he's a Jew and she's a half-breed. Religiously, Samaritans, they only accept the first 5 books, the Pentateuch. They don't believe in what the Jews believe in. Ethnically, religiously, morally, her view of herself, because of religion, she's irredeemable. She has no value. She's not worth being talked to. And in fact, it's scandalous and offensive for you to even talk to me. Ethnically, religiously, morally, I am irredeemable. Historically, we get what's going on. Samaritan. You know, as the story unfolds, Jesus says, "Go call your husband." "I don't have a husband." "That's right. You've been married 5 times, and the guy you live with now is not your husband." Right? We get all the history. We get all the culture. But there's something that we're missing in between the lines with the woman at the well. Something that I think we kind of overlook. Here she is. She's at the well. Jesus says, "Give me a drink." She feels irredeemable. And what I think we're missing is, it's one thing to feel unworthy in the eyes of God. Past mistakes you've made, poor choices, consequences, what have you. It's one thing to feel unworthy. It is another to feel disqualified. One you can get over, the other you don't. Yes, I'm unworthy, but you'll get over that. No, I am disqualified. You're stuck. You know, they tell people you got to hit the bottom before you can come up. That's the bottom you don't come back up from when you feel disqualified. That is unworthiness on steroids. And that's the problem with religion. Religion doesn't tell you that you're unworthy. Religion tells you you're disqualified. They have the back and forth. Go call your husband. I don't have a husband. You're right. You don't have a husband. You've had 5. The guy you live with now. All that. And she goes, ding. Sir, I perceive you're a prophet. Okay. Verse 20. Our fathers, in other words, the heritage she comes from, our fathers worshipped on this mountain, the mountain of watching, Samaria. But you say that in Jerusalem is the place where our people ought to worship. 300 BC, Alexander the Great's conquering the known world. How does he do that? I don't really know. I wasn't there. I'm old. I'm not that old. One thing he does, though, is he Hellenizes the world, gives everybody a common language, the Greek Koine language, and he's able to do commerce, he's able to do business, he's able to spread stuff. And like many world leaders of the time, he takes a special interest in the land of Judea, the Jewish people. Alexander the Great probably was a little bit of a prankster because he commissions a replica of the temple that's in Jerusalem, in Samaria, on the mountain. He commissions it, he allows it, he pays for it in 300 BC. Fast forward, 128 BC, the Jews say, forget this, there's only one place to worship. That's in Jerusalem. And they go up there, they march up there, and they burn it to the ground. Kind of like the Civil War. Kind of like if you were in Atlanta and you saw a statue of Sherman. What would you think, right? You know, would not be good. That's what's going on here. So 128 BC, that's not that far back in world history for the woman to say, my fathers say worship here on the mountain. Your fathers burnt the mountain down. Bad blood. Animosity. Jesus could have responded with, well, there's only supposed to be one place you worship. That's in Jerusalem. God only has one place for the... He doesn't. That's not how he responds. Jesus says to her, woman, believe me, listen now, the hour is coming when neither on this mountain nor in Jerusalem will you worship the Father. Location, time, all that stuff doesn't matter. You worship what you do not know. We worship what we know. Salvation is from the Jews. But the hour is coming and is here now when true worshipers will worship the Father in spirit and in truth. For the Father is seeking such people to worship Him. God is spirit, and those who worship Him must worship Him in spirit and in truth. What we're looking at here in the woman at the well, and what I see in what is called religion, is the confusion between structure and substance. Religion gives you a false facade, a scaffolding, a structure, but it's empty, it's hollow, there's nothing behind it, there's no substance to it. My fathers say worship on the mountain, you people say worship in Jerusalem, and Jesus says it doesn't matter. It's not in this mountain, it's not in Jerusalem. You're not bound and shackled to a building, location, a time, a place. It's about spirit and truth. And we look for the structure, and Jesus is offering the substance, the full substance of being someone who worships in spirit and in truth. Doesn't matter what mountain. Doesn't matter what city. So what is it that the woman finds in talking with Jesus that she couldn't find in seeking religion, in finding religion? What was it that religion couldn't deliver, but Jesus does? Acceptance and being in the presence of God. But ethnically, religiously, and morally, how could that be? How could he accept her? How could he allow outcasts to be in his presence? She's blown it time and time again. She has the biggest reputation of being the cheerleader in the boys' locker room. She's got the reputation of being the biggest immoral woman. She's rejected by everyone. She's alienated by everyone. Separated from her people and God's people. In essence, she's cut off. How could Jesus accept her? Because religion says you're unworthy, you're unacceptable. You're cut off apart from the system of ritual and religion. And Jesus says it's not about religion. It's not about ritual. It's not about location. It's about a relationship. And He accepts her and He spends time in her presence. Side note. When it comes to religion, it raises the question in my mind, correlation or causation. Correlation or causation. Does religion make you feel good? But is the goal to feel good, or is it like, I'm not a chemist, can't spell it, can't hardly pronounce it, but I know when certain chemicals come together, there's a thing called a byproduct. Wasn't the intended part, wasn't what the goal was, but it can be useful. It's a byproduct. Does religion make you feel good, or should the feeling good be a byproduct of the religious experience? Do I do this to feel good? Am I practicing my worship so that I feel good, or does it so happen that when I practice my worship that there is an experience of feeling good? And there is a huge difference between doing it just so I feel good, or I'm doing it and I do feel good. So in other words, what's the difference between religion and a relationship? Am I doing it to feel good, or does making God feel good through my worship also cause me to feel good as well? I love survival stories. I love to read real, not fiction, real survival stories. Nathaniel Philbrook has a book called The Heart of the Sea. They made a movie out of it, which I didn't really watch, but the guy that plays Thor is in it, Chris Helmsworth or whatever. So women will probably like it. I don't know. But excellent book. It's the true story that Moby Dick is based on. All the whaling, because they use the oil to light the lamps all through America, all the whaling has dried up on the Atlantic Ocean. They sail out of Nantucket, they go down around the bottom, they come up, they stop at the Galapagos Islands. They gather turtles from the Galapagos Islands, throw them into the Holy Ship. Galapagos turtles can live for a year without food or water. So now they've got plenty to eat. They go out, the white whale comes, they're in their little whaling boats. The white whale hits the big ship, the Essex, crashes it, it drowns. It sinks, it goes to the bottom. And they, in the end, turn to cannibalism. It's a rough story. Great book. Religion, though, is like being in a boat and drinking salt water when you're lost at sea. What happens when you drink salt water? It makes you thirstier, and eventually it does what? It'll kill you. Religion is drinking salt water when you're lost at sea, and Jesus says, "Come to me, I'll give you living water." Quit drinking the salt water and come to me for a spring of water that will come into eternal life. It'll spring up. It'll be a huge well for others. And of course, what's the woman do? She hears all this. She goes in the village and she tells everyone, and they all come back because of that living water. But here's the biggest question of them all when you read this story. How, and I don't have the answer for this, so don't be waiting for the answer. I want you to think this one through. How is Jesus able to dialogue with her without condoning her behavior, yet without condemning her? You're right, you don't have a husband. You've been married 5 times. The guy you're living with now you're not married to. He doesn't condemn her, but he doesn't condone it. How does he do that? Another question that this raises for me is, what do I really learn about Jesus and his view of worship in this paragraph? I learn least of all he's accepting of every outcast. Nobody is disqualified. Everyone is welcome in his presence. I learned that worship is a matter of the heart, not where I plant my rear end on Sunday mornings. It's a matter of the heart. Religion restricts, it reduces. Religion knows all about the problem of sin. Is sin bad? Absolutely. Religion knows that sin is bad, and in fact, religion will make up more rules to keep you from sinning. So religion must be good. But see, religion, as much as it knows about sin, doesn't know anything about the power of love, the liberation of redemption. Because see, if you could be liberated and redeemed, then you don't need this structure. You don't need this organization. You don't need this religion. If it's between you and God can... We've worked ourselves out of a job. So let's make up some parameters, false structure, more rules. That's why there's a lot of good people that ought to be in church that aren't anymore. Because they're wounded by the place where they should have received healing. Religion knows about peer pressure, but it doesn't know about the power of community. Now that I'm ready to beat the Baptists to Denny's, I know it's going to sound strange that a preacher would be delivering a sermon in church that seems to be coming down on religion. Probably seems strange. But to me, it's very important that we know the difference between religion and relationship. So how do I know if I'm practicing religion or if I'm participating in a righteous relationship with Jesus? It's really simple. Is my goal in practicing my faith self-preservation of the organization? Is that what I'm trying to do? Preserve the organization? Or is my goal to love Jesus and to share Him with the world around me?